said earlier today, our focus is going to be on differential migration. So back to this topic, migration within a population dependent on size, age, sex, or other attributes is differential migration. Size and sex can lead to other types of partial migration, such as natal divergent, skip spawning, and straying. Also, differential migration can lead to switching, a midlife abrupt shift in migration behavior. Natal divergence originates from separate natal habitats. Residents and migratory individuals commingle during non-breeding season, and this is termed breeding partial migration. Skip spawning is when all fish disembark from a natal habitat and only a portion of the adults undertake the migration each year. An example of this is surgeonfish. They do a non-annual delayed spawning, and it's believed to be common in many marine fish, especially long-lived species. So for the surgeonfish life cycle, they start as an egg in a habitat such as a major river, and then they hatch into a juvenile, and they spend their juvenile life in major rivers and deltas. As they grow, they're going to migrate to estuary habitat. And as they're growing, they're moving downstream more and more. So they grow and mature, and then they move to the bays and the estuaries. They'll live there as their adult life until they begin to migrate for their last time back to where they were born into this is their spawning migration, where they lay their eggs and then die. Straying is when migratory individuals reproduce in their non-natal habitat. They are straying away from where they originally came from. Straying tendencies often vary by size and sex. This is considered an amended type of non-natal divergence. Non-natal divergence, as we remember from before, is resident and migratory individuals commingling during not breeding season. An example of this is the English Channel spawn placid, which flows using the currents and tides to various nursery habitats. There's also size migration, and this is different spatial behaviors over time instead of a single behavior. Changes occur most rapidly in larval and juvenile periods, and this is because of the change in swimming performance, foraging success, and to avoid predation. Fish will leave their natal food webs and enter new food webs based on size tendencies. You can think about this as a meroplankton. Meroplankton spend part of their life in the plankton and can forage on things like diatoms and other zooplankton, and then eventually they will grow big enough to swim against the currents and move out of the plankton. The reason why size plays a role in migration is you can look at these two examples of a bull shark. The juvenile bull shark on the top is going to need a lot more energy to get anywhere than this larger adult bull shark on the bottom. And as we remember from before, an increased size reduces the cost of movement. So larger fish are going to have a larger range than smaller fish. Examples of this are shellfish such as cod, flatfish, snappers, and drums, and coastal sharks such as lemon sharks, bull sharks, and angelfish. So while they are in their juvenile stage, they are not going to be able to swim as far because it is more costly. And when they are adults, swimming becomes less costly, so they can swim farther. There's also sex segregation, and this is that mako shark from before. If I remember how I had you guess what their differential migration was because, it's because of sex. They have different migratory habitats if you are a male or a female to avoid harassment from the opposite gender. This is common in dogfish as well. There are also juvenile stage migrations. Some fish have larger migrations in the juvenile stage. An example of this is the Atlantic and Pacific bluefin tuna. They have transoceanic migrations more frequently as juveniles than adults. This is opposite of what we talked about earlier with the bull sharks. Another example of juvenile stage migration is the tiger shark and the white shark. They have a wider migration stage as juveniles for exploratory foraging and to avoid cannibalism by individuals of their same species. Size and sex interactions also play a role in differential migration. Sexual dimorphism is common in many fish, and broadcast spawning and parental care both occur, causing variation in size and survivalship. Some examples of this are striped bass. The female striped bass matures later than the male striped bass, and this causes them to grow larger in size and have a larger migration range. Female fertility success is more dependent on size than it is for males. Another example of how size and sex can interact together to form differential migration is in the scalloped hammerhead shark. The female migrates farther off the shore to find energy-rich pelagic prey. They grow faster and larger than the males, and after maturing, they migrate to support the gestation of larger offspring. To create larger offspring, they need to find proper foraging grounds. Opposite sex-based bias occurs in connected marine and freshwater habitats. Some examples of this are the Australian barramundi, where the males invade the freshwater habitat, and the tupung, where the females will be seasonally found in the rivers. Sharp courtship often results in a bite wound to the females. This is a type of differential migration, as we remember from before, which is migration within a population dependent on size, age, sex, and other attributes. This is segregation of sex because they don't want to be bit, and this is found in makos, white sharks, cat sharks, and spiny dogfish. Live birthing sharks have the cost of birthing the pups, and this sometimes can lead to a more limited range of habitats for the females. Resource competition and territories can be found in fishes as well. Examples of this are the cardinal fish, where the females control the spawning habitat, and winter migrations lead to reacquisition of different spawning territories. This can also be found in the salmon species, because they never leave their spawning territories. Another fish that does this as well is the midshipman, or oyster toadfish, as the common name. And they have size-dependent territories, so body size is a factor in the amount of time that they can remain a resident of that specific area. In conclusion, it is important that we understand fish migration to help protect species from being overfished. We can use a diversity of techniques to track fish migration. Partial migration is the coexistence of two or more life cycles within the same population. Differential migration is migration within a population dependent on size, age, sex, or other attributes. Differential migration is a type of partial migration. Here are my textbook works cited, and I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation. Thank you.